Welcome back all, Dazzy Jay from Model Techniques. This week we've got Heath Hurwitz from Humanity Junction that comes onto the channel. So he gives us a real candid look into his YouTube channel. All the links below regarding that channel. It's just a phenomena. His live streaming is just absolutely fantastic to get involved with. So also don't forget to subscribe, like, click that little bell icon to be notified of upcoming content. Also, I've got a Patreon page, so a big shout out to all my super fans out there that have helped me along the way. So every little bit counts. So without further ado, let's get started.
Scenery lighting without wiring, so powerful yet so easy. DwarvenEnterprises.com. Dwarven Enterprises will be offering MRT viewers a 10% discount on all sales. Use the code word MRT2021 to get this deal.
Welcome aboard, Heath Hurwitz from Humanity Junction. Thanks for taking time away from your busy YouTube schedule for chatting with me at Model Techniques today.
Thank you so much for having me. It's great to talk to somebody that's pretty much halfway around the world.
It is, isn't it? It is. I think that's one of the beauties of the technology of today is that we can do things like this and share our ideas and our passions within the model train industry, that's for sure.
Absolutely. I've met some really great people all over the world through this hobby.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's awesome. So just to let everyone know, Heath, if you're not aware of him, if you're not, I'm not sure where you've been, but out of New York State is my understanding. Please tell me if I'm wrong.
New York City and
New York City, sorry. I am wrong.
No,
So
all good.
you can be found on, Humanity Junction. He's on YouTube. He's got a website, Patreon, and also he's got merchandise, Blame Heath, and all sorts. I'll put the links to everything below. So please have a look at some of his websites and get some of his merch because it is quite high quality. So I suppose, Heath, the first thing I'm going to ask you: do you ever sleep? Your upload schedule is phenomenal. So I'll take my hat off to you for that. I struggle getting up one video a week sometimes. So, do you sleep?
I do sleep actually, and it's kind of funny you say that, but due to what we've been calling the showstopper, I've had a lot more free time than usual.
Sure.
So I've been using that free time to learn as much as I can and to spend as much time with this hobby.
Yeah, lovely,
So
lovely. So I
yeah.
always like to get to know sort of people's sort of background into how they got into the hobby. So can you sort of give us a little bit of an insight how you got into model railroading?
Initially, and I feel like this is a fairly common story. My dad had Lionel 027 trains, and he would set them up in the basement as a kid, and we would, watch the trains go in circles. And I really
Nice.
loved kind of that clickety clack
Yeah.
that the trains made. And that's something that really stuck with me. And when I got a little older, we used to go to the Greenberg train shows, which are a train show in the northeast of the US here. And I would go and buy some Athearn Blue Box kits for like $2.50, $3 a kit.
Nice.
And I got into HO scale primarily. And when I moved out for college, as what happens with a lot of people, I kind of left the model trains behind a little bit and dabbled in it, a little bit between, over the last 20 years or so. But then recently in 2019, in for Christmas holiday, I got back into it. The girlfriend said, "Can I put up a tree?" And I said, "Can I put a train around it?" And the rest is kind of history. I mean, when the pandemic happened, it just gave me so much more time, and I'm not somebody that's real good at sitting around not doing anything.
Sure. Sure.
So I just jumped in, and part of what YouTube's allowed me to do as well. Uh, Before everything shut down, I was a project manager for an AV company that did a lot of corporate events.
Right.
So
Right.
I was doing a lot of AV stuff already, but mostly in person.
Sure.
So now there was this new opportunity to explore all this stuff online and to see what's possible with live streaming and YouTube and all these, platforms that I hadn't really delved into before.
Yeah, sure,
So I
sure.
did have a little bit of a production background and then, learned a lot, over the last year.
It is definitely a very steep learning curve, the YouTube journey, and I was just going to get into that because that's what I would like to chat to you about as well. How you've sort of got into that, but sort of, I suppose, tell people how much work goes in the background to run a channel like yours or mine. Like I put up one video a week, and the interview sort of an hour. By the time you get it into post, you're still looking at several hours of and I only do basic editing to get it up, get it onto YouTube, do the keyword research, do the emails that go out, and everything else that goes along with it. Put it on your Patreon page. So give people a little bit of insight, the background to how much work it does take to run a YouTube channel.
Yeah, so for a pre-recorded video, like one that I would upload, I spend probably about an hour, maybe an hour and 15 minutes per minute of uploaded content.
Yeah,
So for every minute you watch, there's at least an hour
yeah,
of time that I spend working on that, whether
yeah,
that's planning for it, whether it's setting up equipment, whether it's shooting it, editing it, doing the voiceovers,
yeah,
all that stuff. It takes a while, and because of my AV background, I do look at things a little bit differently. I guess I try and add a certain polish to it that it might not really be necessary, but it's what I enjoy doing. It's what I
yeah,
enjoy bringing to the hobby. So I do spend a lot of time on just uploads. Another huge factor of time in what I do is that I live in an apartment in New York City,
mm,
and every night I have to close everything up and take everything down, and everything gets piled up on my desk, and I have this backdrop that's behind me actually slides forward up against the desk.
mm,
And then when I want to do some modeling or record a video or do a live stream, I need to pull everything out, and set it up, and reconnect everything and make sure everything works. And then, check the wiring and check everything out. So even doing a live stream where you think, oh, like I can just flip the camera on,
yeah,
I need to take the time and actually, prepare for that and get everything and make
yeah,
sure I
sure.
have the tools I need and line everything up. So um, it can just be turning on the camera, and I do actually highly encourage people, if they're interested in this kind of stuff, just turn the camera on and start talking,
Yeah,
and figure out the rest as you go. And I am
sure.
happy to help
Yeah,
anybody that wants to get into live streaming or uploads or any of that kind of stuff.
yeah, sure. And
So
likewise
yeah.
here, definitely. Likewise here, definitely. So, no, you're exactly right. The reason I went to the interviews because I was a little bit time poor. Fortunately, within Australia, our pandemic hasn't quite been the same as other parts of the world. Um, my life hasn't slowed down at all due to my job. Um, so I've still had to fit all my YouTube stuff in around and try to still enjoy my modelling as well. I've got quite a large layout in a 30 by 30 foot structure that on my property that I live at. So, but you're exactly right. I love doing it. I have dabbled with a few sort of how-to videos, and you're exactly right. They take a long, long time. And then
In
reshooting
these
things.
interviews,
Yeah,
I mean, at the top of this interview, you named off, some of my websites and talked
yeah,
about my upload schedule. It's, you do, even in an interview, you have to do your research.
correct, correct.
So, it's not just, flipping the camera on. You got to make sure the
Yeah,
audio works, make sure the
that's
video
right.
works. So
Just while we're on the upload schedule, you live stream Mondays still 6 p.m. Eastern US time,
yeah,
and I'll put all these links below as well, so everyone sort of knows. And also, you do a Friday hangout, which I've come in on a few times, 11:30 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern US time as well. So well worth getting in there on the chat. It's quite well patronised, which is great. So now I've been watching your channel as well. We're appears that we start at similar times. I might have started maybe a little bit before, but you chug it along quite nicely. YouTube can be a grind at times to get it out there with the algorithm. There's a lot of big channels out there like Luke Towan and the Diorama people are just
Yeah.
killing it in this space. So how are you finding that side of things, the actual grind and the time and effort that we do put into the output, the other end of what pure watch or subscribers and the like?
Yeah, I mean, there was definitely a time where I spent a lot more time watching model railroad YouTube videos,
Yeah.
and then it shifted a little bit to where I was watching a lot of videos on, how to improve your watch hours, how to, get people to click on your thumbnails and all
Yeah,
that
yeah,
kind of stuff. And I'm definitely trying to find a balance. I recently realized, and this is kind of where things clicked for me, was that people don't really come to my channel because of the model railroading or because of the streaming that I do or because of that stuff. They come for the personalities.
yeah, sure.
Like you don't listen to a Joe Rogan interview because you want to hear what the person he's interviewing has to say. You listen to him because you want to hear him interviewing that person.
Yeah, sure.
And I'm starting to realize that that's really a big key to YouTube is being yourself and just building your community around who you genuinely are. And the audience is going to come and the
Yeah,
audience will find you. And I've been doing some more tech focused videos lately, sort of these pop up live stream testing,
yeah,
my setup things that I've been doing. And people have been showing up and they've been enjoying them. And like you said, people get together in the chat and they have a good time. And it's the community
yeah.
uh, that's there that I just really enjoy.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. I sort of love it, and as I said, you brought up rightfully. I've met so many willing people to come onto my channel, as well. Just reaching out via email, like yourself. I reached out a little while
Yeah,
ago, and finally our stars aligned after a few false starts on my part.
yeah,
Um, Getting days mixed up and all sorts of things, and then which is quite easy considering obviously you're the day before, yeah. So I'm sort of mid morning here, sort of mid to late morning, so in Australia. But I just love the getting to know what interests people in this hobby. So whether it's
absolutely.
prototype, I've had Jim Lincoln on about proto O gauge side of things, and it's just been fascinating that people are willing to share. Pele Solberg, one of the finest modelers in the modern era, willing to come on my channel and spend an hour with me. It's just phenomenal.
And like the people you get to meet, like you don't just get to learn, how to model from them, which yes, it's a huge part of it and it's a huge part of the conversation. But also just meeting people from different backgrounds that live in different areas and to
Yeah,
learn like really who they are
yeah,
as well on a different level. I really like that part of it.
yeah, exactly, exactly. I don't know if I'm assuming you listen to a Modeler's Life podcast.
Of course, yeah.
I think he's hit the nail on the head with the way he's going about things as well, which is not too dissimilar to what you and I are talking about. Is community. We're all got
Yeah.
these diverse backgrounds, upbringings, and we just bring it to the head of we talk about model trains. Doesn't matter who you are, what part of the world you're from. If you like New York City Transit, locomotives or whatever, and I could be in Australia, you could be in Africa or wherever else. Doesn't matter. You you have that common goal and a common passion for whatever you're modeling.
I love that I've met people here in the US that model UK stuff, and I've met people in the UK that model US stuff, and I've
Yeah, yeah,
met people in Australia that model the US stuff, and
yeah,
it's just really yeah, it's really awesome.
yeah, yeah. Just for info, I model European, and I'm in Australia, so there you go.
There you go. Yep. Yep. Exactly.
Eras
Right.
1 and 2, German and Austrian railways, and my background's not German or Austrian; it's Anglo-Saxon English. So very good.
Yep.
So tell us how the live stream sort of came about. How did you sort of get the talk us a bit more through the passion of how and why you love that that so much.
Initially, I was terrified to do a live stream. I did not want to do one at all. But then I did this video that I think it was titled "If I Was a Live Streamer." So I downloaded OBS and I
Yeah.
downloaded, some other software and whatnot, and I kind of figured it out. And I put together a video of what it might look like if I did live streaming with the technology and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, sure.
And then I was like, okay, that's it. Like I've done that. Okay, I'm
Yeah.
good. I'm good. My toe got a little too close to the water. I'll back up now.
Yeah.
And then Benny, Boxcar Benny from Creative Rails, was doing On Track Tuesday, and he couldn't do one of them. And he, emailed me and said, Heath, what, will you take over? And I was like, okay, yes, right? Because in life, sometimes you just got to say yes when opportunities come up.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I started like telling people about it and promoting it. And then I started going, wait a second. If I tell people about it, people are going to show up. People are going to watch it. Like, what am I doing?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I did my first live stream, and a lot of the way I do my live stream was the way I saw Benny doing things. I liked his production value. I liked the way he sort of flowed from one section of his stream to the next. So he was actually a big influence in the kind of look of it. And then there were other, live streamers like Sparky and Vinny and, the whole On Track, Tuesday gang and Tom's Trains on Monday night. And I would watch all of their streams and I would, look for the parts that I liked. And I would say like, would that fit in for me? Would it not fit in? How might I integrate that? And then I just sort of started, bringing more and more things in. And
Mm.
I do have a little bit of a neurosis, maybe. Like I love the tech side of it,
Yeah. Nice.
and like model trains has a huge tech aspect to it. But then when you combine it with the live streaming, and you've got to have your setup so dialed in that like when there's a problem,
Yeah.
like you can fix it and then keep going, and you're modeling and things are happening, and uh, it's fun to me. I mean, I the some of the pictures going by, you can see my desk, and it's
Mm.
like monitors and lights and everything set up. And um I'm working on this OBS setup right now that I'm just trying to push it like to the next level.
Yeah.
uh, and it's just fun for me. And
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
just like with model railroading, like it's trying things
Yeah.
and exploring and creating and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
the live streams have become a place of exploration for me, as well as with the model railroading. And then just to hold space as well. I started doing the regular live streams really to hold space because people just wanted to get together and talk and didn't really have a place to talk. And that's how
Mm.
my Friday mornings started. Because
Yeah.
from like 11:30 to 1, I could catch people on their lunch breaks. I could catch a bunch of the UK people at night.
Yeah.
Their night was my morning.
Yeah.
And I was just able to hold space for people to get together and talk about a hobby that they all loved.
Yeah. Sure.
And it just kind of kept growing from there. Um, and that's what I like doing. I mean, I guess I can say I like starting the conversation and then letting it sort of organically go wherever it
Yeah.
goes.
See
And
where it goes. Sure. Sure.
yeah,
I must admit, one of my favorite videos of recent times of yours, and I'm definitely going to pick your brain again, was the video on your setup.
yeah,
I've watched that 3 or 4 times now because if you saw what was behind this green screen here, one day I might do a little spoof video and just show people what it looks like back there and to the left and right of me. It's not all neat and tidy like
nope,
your lovely bench there. Definitely
yeah,
interested in your more on that video. So I will put the link below because it's a little bit of a tongue in cheek, as I found it a little bit of what we'd call in Australia here, a little bit cheeky, and I
yeah,
like that type of humor. And it's a fantastic setup. So well done. And I can,
And I
I
will say a lot of it's out of necessity too.
yeah,
I mean, I have a very limited space, so I have to be as
yeah,
organized,
sure,
you know, as I can. If I had a 30-foot by 30-foot room,
yeah,
I'd probably be a lot more messy than I am because I'm
like me,
by
yeah,
nature I'm probably if you saw all the stuff down here at my
yeah,
feet,
yeah,
you would understand. It's
yeah.
just yeah, it's just a pile of stuff down there.
Yeah, yeah. I've attempted one live stream through this channel I did with Dan Pugach. He lives in Maine. I'm not sure if you're aware of that gentleman. He might be
Yeah.
one of your patrons actually. Him and I did one a while back, and it went all right. I've yet to do one again. I've done a clinic on NMRX a little while back, and I've got another one coming up. So I'm sort of starting to dabble with the live stream bit side of things. I think. But they are, as you point out, yeah, they are. They can be quite stressful because there's a lot to monitor, and you know, there's a
When
lot.
you're a solo live streamer,
Correct.
um, if you've never done it, people kind of don't realize how many things you're monitoring. I mean,
That's right.
there's the obvious stuff, right? Like you're trying to read the chat, but
Yeah,
imagine trying to read something and keep talking, right? Because a lot of the live streams I do, I'm by myself. So if you're by yourself, you're you're just, you have to keep talking.
yeah,
Then you're reading the chat and you're trying to find a chat message
yeah,
that's appropriate to read,
yeah,
and you're switching cameras and you're making sure the tech works and the dog is bothering you and
yeah, yeah.
yeah, like things are
It's a lot going on.
that's like s- it, I think it's just like everything in life, right? Like the first live stream will likely go pretty well. The second one, now that you think like you kind of know what's going to happen,
Yeah,
is going to be a mess
yeah,
because now you have some preconceived notion of what's supposed to happen,
yeah.
and none of those things you think are going to happen end up happening.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
And it really is just over time. I do this show called Sidetrack Sunday with five other guys, and we have a hangout, like a little chat message that's going all the time. And I asked the guys the other day, I said, "Do you guys still get nervous before live streams?" And I got mixed answers, but
Mm,
there's a lot to pull together, and
yeah,
I always wonder if when I hit that start streaming button,
yeah,
is anything gonna happen?
yeah, yeah,
You
yeah.
know?
Funny you say that. I still get very um sidetracked and a little bit nervous as well when I do these interviews. Like this morning, I have a little bit, the butterflies get going, and and I think I've done now nearly 50 of these types of these interviews. So, um, always test the audio because I've been caught out with that before, and I've brought the audio back in, and then I sound like Darth Vader, and sounds ridiculous, but so I do that little sound check all the time. But you don't have that opportunity on live stream. Sometimes you can do it beforehand, but once you push that live button, that's it. Unless someone comes through and say, "Hey, Heath, you're sounding like Darth Vader," or whatever else.
And
So
that happens. I
yeah,
mean, I've started shows and started talking, and been talking for a minute or two, and then glanced at the chat, and everybody's saying we can't hear you,
yeah,
and it's like, like but you learn little tricks, I guess, to kind of know whether it's going to work or not.
sure,
So I feel like I've certain things set up so that things happen automatically.
yeah,
And I actually just started making a pre-flight checklist today
yeah, nice,
because my setup's getting more complicated. But as long as you kind of, have a regular sort of setup, you usually after a certain point start catching a lot of those things.
yeah, yeah,
But, then, you think you got it all together and
yeah,
you
yeah,
start your show and people are like, "Oh, nothing's working,"
yeah,
so
yeah. Or you do like I did. I'm been toying around with remote operations. I don't know if you've seen that side of things, and I didn't realize I pushed the live button on my YouTube, and the video's still up there. And I thought I'm just going to leave it there, because it's a little bit of insight. It's me just rambling on saying this is not working, and
Yep.
But I'm just going to leave it there because it's, human nature. We all make mistakes, but
Yeah.
it's quite interesting. The other thing I'd like to sort of pick your brain on a little bit as well is the naysayers, we might call them, or the as Jimmy puts it, the nasty and the meanies, which he just recently done a video on, and I thought it was fantastic. You sort of finding you're getting much sort of that side of things where people having a go at either your modeling or your production, so to speak.
Uh, Most people don't comment much on my modeling because I think I'm pretty upfront that I'm kind of making it up as I go along.
Yeah,
Um, I do find in general, this community is extremely supportive.
correct. Yep.
There are some people that um, it, in general, I'd say it's very minimal in this community. There are situations where some people kind of are like, you know, uh, why is he getting subscribers and I'm not? Or
Mm,
like that kind of thing where they're looking at this as a zero sum game. Like
yep.
if I'm doing something, it means they can't do something or vice versa.
Sure. Sure.
And that's another thing that I really like about YouTube is that it doesn't matter if other people are streaming or if somebody else has posted almost the same exact video that you've posted or you know eh, ideally you're not stealing other people's ideas without at least kind of like checking in with them or whatever, but
Mm,
we're all doing model railroading.
correct.
I'm doing the Walthers National Model Railroad build off right now, right?
Yeah,
there's
nice.
there's three kits people could have bought, so it's very likely that people are building the same kits I'm building and posting videos about the same kits that I'm building.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
But it's not a zero sum game.
yeah.
YouTube's big enough for all of us, and I'm playing the long term game as well. So, I'm working on, little steps, one little step after the other and just being consistent.
Yeah,
The other reason I got into the live streams was just to keep being consistent.
yeah, yeah.
And when the naysayers see that you're consistent and when the naysayers see that you're continuing on no matter what they do,
Mm, mm.
they eventually move on.
Yeah, that's
Um,
right. That's right. No, you're definitely right
or
there.
they come along for the ride.
Yeah,
The
and off.
other thing that I've done that I think has helped me a lot with the naysayers is this blame Heath thing, right?
Mm,
So I was interviewed by Tom's Trains and Things on his Monday night show. And then the next week, somebody else was supposed to get interviewed, but they were having a difficult time. So, I'm pretty tech savvy. I was like, let me see if I can figure out what's going on or whatever. So I just happened to test whether the link he used my week was the same link he was using. And
sure.
it did happen to be the same link, but by logging into the link, I then kicked the other guy out who had just figured out how to get connected. So this whole sort of joke started of blame Heath. And the blame Heath thing could be a negative thing, but I also for me, what blame Heath is about, it's about that things are going to go wrong
Mm,
and it's how do we act and how do we behave and what do we do when things go wrong, and for me that's what it's all about.
sure.
So when people blame me for something or when people say, oh, you're doing that wrong, I kind of say, yeah, of course I am, and I'm going to learn from it and maybe do something different and try something new, and who knows what's going to come out of it.
Yeah, nice, nice.
So a little bit this side brand a little bit that I've created, this idea of blame Heath, it's really about just creating a space where making mistakes is okay.
Yep.
Having things be a complete disaster are fine,
Yeah, yeah.
and I'm still going to show up the next day and I'm still going to do another video and I'm still going to come to your live stream. We're still going to have a great conversation, and we're going to go on.
That's right.
So, the naysayers, you, you know, it's all a part of it, right?
Yeah.
And you learn stuff from them too, though. If you really listen to what they're saying and really get what they're concerned about, there's a lot of times something very interesting in that. And then you can kind of make the choice as to how you act based on the information you're getting.
Mm. Yeah, no, you're exactly right there. So I'm sort of being a little bit lucky. You get the odd one, as you say, that might send you an
Yeah.
email or put a unfavorable comment or something like that. But you know, you, I think you're exactly right. You need to look into maybe the root of what they're saying. It's very easy to misconstrue with way someone's written something that they might have actually meant it that way also. So you do have to be a little bit careful with just firing something back and taking it to heart. So, because ultimately we are putting it out there, we are putting our modelling out there in some shape or form, whether we're beginners, experts, or everything in between. I'm no expert by any stretch of the imagination, but I do love my modelling, and I do like to get it as right as I can.
And I mean, what you said though too about communication. I mean, this my whole brand, this whole humanity brand, and I talk about this I have a video about the origin of my channel name. But something that's always really interested me is how we as humans interact with technology and that sort of barrier, but also that access it gives
Mm,
us. So there's this weird thing of like somebody says something and it can either be access into something or it could be building a wall.
yeah.
And you don't necessarily know what their intention was when they wrote it. So, sometimes you've got to ask more questions or delve a little deeper or
Mm, mm,
yeah, but this whole thing, this whole idea of I'm standing here in front of all these monitors and lights and all this kind of stuff, having a conversation with you, learning a little bit about you, you're learning about me.
yeah.
uh, Like how amazing is that we're able to do that with technology and connect over a hobby that we're both just really passionate about. You know this wouldn't be possible 10 years ago, right? I mean,
No, that's exactly right. And unfortunately,
yeah.
it's taken a pandemic to probably bring it to the forefront in some regards as well. But I see, it's a good segue into my next question is I don't see this going away in any regards because I was listening to the Modeler's Life podcast the other day with David Aberles,
Hmm.
and the question was asked to him about because obviously he is probably the forefront of the virtual operations or the remote operations side of things, and that's just fascinating that side of the hobby to me.
Yeah.
And the question was asked to him I'll paraphrase here, along the lines of when we come off the other end of the pandemic or what we're going through, do you see a need for remote operations? And he goes, hell yeah, I do. Because basically what he was saying was there's opportunities where people, for whatever reason, wouldn't be able to attend his layout in person. Either
Yeah.
they live in Australia or the UK, like they have run his layout, or got home from late home from work that day and I just couldn't make the drive, but I could still then just log in and still have some fun and the community side of things. So I don't see it going away in any stretch of the imagination. It just enhances what's already there.
I mean, watching layout tours, watching other people operate on their layout, it's great. And
Yeah.
I love seeing those videos. But the idea of being able to log into somebody's live stream and potentially actually control their locomotive and see their layout in a completely different way for yourself and like
Yeah. Yeah.
have just a different focus and a different thought about it. I think it's really interesting. And um, one thing I love too is layout planning, right? Like I don't have a space. I'm probably not going to have a space for a while, but anytime anybody talks about layout planning, I am watching that video. Like I
Mm,
love hearing, why somebody did this or how that works and what's going on. So to be able to remote operate
yeah.
on a bunch of different layouts and go, you know, that's, that
That's
works for
exciting.
me. I want that. And then to
Yeah.
be able to bring that back and integrate it in your own, it's just a connection on a completely different level.
Yeah,
So,
definitely. Now, I've
yeah.
definitely gone down that line. I use a program called Train Controller, which is a German-based
Yeah.
software, and I've managed to do just that through port forwarding and the like. So I've yet to sort of go to the extent that David has, and some others, but I'm
Yeah.
definitely looking for some of the Australians like Martin Jenkins and Brad Anderson. You may be aware, might know some of those names, but behind the
Yes, I do. Yeah.
NMRAX phenomena. So I'm sort
Yeah.
of in with them, and I've got a live stream coming up that Brad's asked me along to take questions. So there you go. Yet again, getting involved in this side of things where, I've got a little bit of knowledge, but, I'm willing to share what I've
Yeah.
got and what mistakes I've made along the way so people don't waste their time like I have in some aspects.
Well, so two things. I'm trying to get more involved in the NMRA as well. Like the NMRA tends to lean uh, older. The people in it tend to be a little older,
Yeah,
and I think there's so much to learn from them. And all these like NMRA clinics that they're doing, and all these virtual events that they're doing, really give an amazing opportunity to meet some of the people that have tried the thing you're about to try 500 times
sure.
and could just give you a little tip that makes all the difference.
Yeah,
So I've been trying to get more involved in the NMRA and NMRAX, in some of the regional, NMRA events
yeah,
to help put that content out there.
yeah.
Um, Now I forget where there was a second thing, and I completely forget what it was.
As I said, I've got an edit list here. We can take that out. So I've just got one thing, but that's fine.
It's all
Yeah, no,
good.
I think you're exactly right. Particularly with what Gordy and crew, there's obviously the main four or five of them now. Speed Muller, I don't want to leave him out. He's obviously
Yep.
the man with the bow tie and the most world famous helix that I'm told where he sits. He's the one that roped me into my little clinic a few months ago, and I was packing it beforehand because I'm not sure what I was going to get because I was on a Jim Kello's show, and he's a
Yep. New
master
tracks.
moderator,
Yep.
New Tracks.
Yep.
Fabulous. I'll also put that link to below. It's just another absolute gentleman of our hobby, and got a little bit of he's really pushing which is very interesting because obviously and obviously older than myself anyway, gentleman, and he's sort of pushing the computer control a little bit, and it's something that's
Mm.
passionate to me. I've written a few articles on a few different magazine or not magazines, but e-magazines or newsletters. And I was we received a little bit of the negative, the naysayer side of things. Why would you want to connect a computer to? And I said that's fine. That's their opinion and the like. But so I was a little bit nervous going through to NMRX, which is a little bit bigger stage, obviously. And yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I'll definitely do it again. Um, as I said, the one with Brad Anderson coming up, that's the Australian arm of NMRA that are doing just something virtually for the group down here. So I just, I'm just going to throw myself. If people don't like it, that's fine. That's their opinion, and there's probably things that they do that I don't like either. But I think ultimately you can't, the genre is
I
model
do want
trains.
to
Sorry, go on.
I do want to acknowledge Andy Ambrose is somebody as well that's been
Yes.
very helpful to me in getting me involved in the NMRA and in NMRAX. And
Yep.
Andy actually arranged the interview that I did with Gordy
Right.
while he was running.
Yep.
And to have that kind of access to people,
Yep.
and we were not easy on Gordy at all. Like
Mm.
I let the chat ask the questions the chat wanted to ask,
Yep.
and we brought him to we brought him to him, and allowed him to answer it. And I
Yep.
think that's being able to have access to people
Yep. Yep.
is huge.
Yeah, exactly.
and just being able to email somebody and then set up an interview with them. John Stuccardotti, the
Yeah,
the show director for the Amherst show.
yeah,
I heard him do an interview on A Modeler's Life, and I said, "Hey, like, can I interview you a couple weeks before you do the virtual Amherst show? Because I want to make sure everybody in my community knows about it."
yeah,
And he was
yeah,
like, "Yeah, let's do it."
yeah, sure.
And it was great. And I got to learn who he was
Yeah,
outside of model railroading,
yeah, yeah.
but then also, what he was doing and why he was doing what he did within the hobby as well.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Big shout, yeah, exactly right. Big shout out to Andy Ambrose. I had him on this show a few months ago now. Absolute gentleman. He's obviously into train
Yeah.
controller as well. So hilarious bloke.
Yeah.
A lovely little layout. That
Yeah.
his boss allowed him to build in the office, which is hilarious.
Amazing, right? Amazing.
And there was one particular young lady who, when she's on the telephone, he likes running a train past, obviously a sound equipped train, and just blasts
Of course.
all the horns and whistles and the bells and just sits almost right next to her. So that's just hilarious. So thanks, Andy. You're a legend. So yeah, you're exactly right. Gordy Robinson, I interviewed him before he started running, obviously, and I've got one coming up with him in about a month's time or so. Um, if you've seen some of my videos early on, I sort of pushed the barrow for him a little bit as well with a little segment about him at the beginning of my videos because I think we're a little bit like-minded. He wants to bring us up into the 21st century with ideas and fresh ideas, but also maintaining the tradition of the organisation as well. I don't think we can take that. He doesn't want to take that away, because obviously that's the grassroots of how this association sort of grew.
Right. Yeah, definitely. And I probably shouldn't admit this, but your interview of him was one of the many sources I looked to do
Thank you.
research before
Yeah, no,
before I did my interview on him. But a guy like Gordy is a busy guy. I mean, he's got a
yep,
job that keeps him very busy. He's got a family that keeps him busy.
yep,
He's been doing tons of work on his railroad,
yep,
and yet, you can reach out to him and he responds to you and
yep,
is very available. And
yep,
that's it's pretty amazing.
yeah.
Really pretty
Can't ask for
amazing.
any more than that. And would definitely, when the we're allowed to travel again, it'd be certainly a gentleman I'd like to meet in person, some
Yeah,
shape or form,
absolutely.
definitely. So
Absolutely.
so we're going very broad here. Now we'll get back to
Yeah.
Humanity Junction, um, which is nothing wrong with that. I like that conversation, just where it might take us. Where do you see your channel going? What's your ultimate goal, or is it something that keeps changing week by week, month by month?
Um, it's still changing. I still do feel like my channel is very young and I'm still learning a lot as I go. I've been very fortunate that my channel has grown as quick as it has, but that also means that, I may have, missed a couple things along the way that maybe I should have, learned
Mm,
those lessons.
mm,
So, uh, consistency for me is probably the number one thing. Uh, the community just sort of knowing that I'm going to be available. I'm going to do shows at certain times. I'm available over email. I'll be in chats and stuff. Like, I just try and be as consistent as I can with that sort of thing,
mm.
and I want to try and be able to do that over time. I am very fortunate that an office space is opening up in my building,
Right.
and it's not going to be available probably until the end of the summer. They still have to do some construction, and we all know construction always takes longer than you expect it to.
Yeah.
So I don't know when I'm going to get to move in, but it's going to give me a space where it's still a tiny space, right? My channel's all about model railroading in a small space. And this is still a small space. So I still need to sort of figure that aspect of it out,
Mm,
but I won't have to pile everything up on the desk and turn all the lights off and shut everything down every night.
mm.
I can just leave a project on my workbench.
Sure. Sure.
So I do want to, in addition to the live streams, I do want to get more consistent with uploads. I do think doing a 10 to 12-minute upload of some topic in model railroading is something that I really enjoy doing. And
Sure.
we've been talking a lot about sort of computer control, digital command control, all that sort of stuff. I love that aspect of it.
Yep.
I love the animation, the technology, when things are moving, the lighting.
Yep.
And that's stuff that I really want to get into when I have a space where I could leave some little circuit set up
Yep.
so that I can, work on it and explore it and then, share what I learned with people.
Sure. Sure. Just on that fact, the animation side of things, up this week, I interviewed Jeff Bunzer as well. I don't know if you know that gentleman
Don't know, Jeff.
Please reach out to him if you're into the
Okay.
animation side of things. If you just
Yeah.
type into YouTube, Jeff Bunzer, Model Railroad Hobbyist magazine as well. He's got a whole blog, and he's obviously a doctor of electrical engineering. That's all I'm going to say. That was a very fun conversation with that man, and some of the stuff that he has done with Arduino and that side of things, which is another passion of mine, surprisingly. You would really enjoy, and yeah, you really enjoy if you after another interview. He was fantastic. Obviously that's coming up this week, so for my channel anyway. So
Yeah, and speaking of Arduino, one of the other things I love about this hobby is if you want to get into it and do things on the Arduino level, you can.
yeah,
But you can also go to a company like Iowa Scaled Engineering and buy something called the Motorman and do a trolley track on your desk
mm,
that goes back and forth without knowing how to go into the weeds with the Arduino.
yeah, yeah,
And I think there's a lot of really small companies out there that are doing these really cool products and offering them for sale to people
yeah,
that the people that want that effect but don't want to have to program the Arduino themselves
yeah,
also can have access to it.
yeah. Sure, sure.
So there's everywhere in between. And I mean, I think that's why a lot of people love this hobby, right? I mean, if you like electrical stuff, you don't necessarily have to do a lot of scenery stuff for,
No, that's
you know,
right. That's
if you
right.
like laying track,
Yeah, yeah,
you don't necessarily have to do the electrical part. You call your buddy over
yeah,
and
yeah. There's
yeah, so that,
a chap that I've started a Facebook page up with, an English version of Train Controller. Peter Creaser, hello, from New South Wales, and he has no scenery, but I've had a little bit of dig at him every now and again, but the quality of this man's bench work, unbelievable.
mm,
It's just gorgeous. Like, I could never do anything like mine's just a patchwork, obviously, but I'm looking at doing scenery, so I'm not going to see it, so I haven't spent that time, but he has, and it's just magical. And there's a few people out there that are like that, particularly in the the Fremo world and things like that. That just the construction quality is just out of this world.
if a video on operations start and they don't have any scenery on the layout,
Yeah,
there's probably going to be some interesting operations
yeah,
because that's what that person
easy.
loves doing.
That's right. That's right. Yet again, horses for courses. So,
Yeah.
well, Heath, thank you so much for spending so much time with me. As I said before, a few false starts getting up and running, but we finally got there, which is great. So thanks for taking the time away from your modeling, your channel. All the links below. Humanity Junction, get on board with it. It's real fun live streams in very educational how-to videos. So hats off to you, and thanks again.
Thanks so much for having me. It was really great finally connecting with you.
Make sure you subscribe, click that little bell icon to be notified of upcoming videos. Support us on Patreon, like us on Facebook and Instagram at Model Railroad Technique.